recording stop. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button there. So, that's how it goes sometimes.
Hey, that's
So, let's listen to the dulcet tones. Aaron's got toys. Hey,
oh,
YouTubers, Aaron's got new toys.
yes, he does. Yes.
Nothing like some nice generic rock and roll audio for the fans out there. We'll do better than that. I promise you. I promise you. We will do far better than that once I figure out what will not get us completely unmonetized. But till then, dick around
Hey,
with the presets and
it
have some
it
fun.
is what it is.
And
Hey, I'm just saying. Um,
it's a nice little fade in and out. It's lovely,
cool.
lovely, lovely.
Oh, and there's the bing.
There's the
We are
bing.
live. We're live.
Everybody, welcome, welcome to the Evan and Aaron show. It is Wednesday night. We hope you are here joining us live or listening to it however you can. Maybe you're getting this on Anchor. Maybe you're getting this on
Ooh,
Spotify. Maybe you're getting
yeah.
this on YouTube. Maybe you clicked here through Twitter or Facebook, or gosh, maybe we're getting on sites that we don't even know yet. Do we
Maybe
dare
they're
get on
swiping right
TikTok?
Tinder.
Should
Oh,
we?
maybe.
Oh, swipe right for the Evan and Aaron show,
That's
and
exactly.
maybe some
Exactly.
TikTok. Just why not give the Chinese all of our data? So,
Okay, this is a new development.
oh,
Like,
isn't it?
yeah, new development. We now have closed captioning. I'm actually seeing closed captioning on live recording, my friend.
You know what? I think I was playing around with settings the other day, so
I
I
love
want to
it.
be
I
able to
love it.
look. I want to know if they get all of it right, because if it's happening in real time, there's got to be some stuff that they are just not getting translated correctly.
You know
So,
what? What that says is this. It says we love you. That's exactly what that says, man. And Aaron, thank you
thank you.
for putting that on. All right, that's awesome.
That's
Hey,
awesome. Ayo, what is good, my man? We are glad you are here to join us. Gonna have some fun tonight. Gonna do a little recap of the year.
mhm.
Talk some sports ball. There were some games yesterday and today,
Oh, yeah.
and just generally have some fun. So if you got some comments, weigh in. Would love to hear from you, especially your thoughts on today's game. I kept an eye on each of two games. And I'm not entirely sure how the third one finished. So let me get to ESPN.
Which one?
It was not a sponsor of the show. Neither, ladies and gentlemen, is Rode.
No,
But
because
let
we
me tell you,
covered up.
Rode and Rodecaster Pro, we're
Yeah.
gonna have some fun with this. We're gonna have some fun with
Oh, yeah.
this. So,
Yep,
um,
yep. Hey,
the
Aaron, like
yeah,
like if you could get one, like two, two dream sponsors, who would they be?
two
As you take a drink of Miller Lite.
two dream sponsors. I tell
Dream
you,
sponsors. Yep.
any sort of alcohol product. I would hate to, if the men in blazers would be so kind as to share Jägermeister with us. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm,
Um,
you love
Jameson
it.
wouldn't hurt.
No.
Maybe what we do is we get in touch with some friends down here in town. Maybe Sun King.
Oh,
Maybe Centerpoint.
I got to tell you,
a lot
I
of good
am.
options around here. Yeah,
I'm a big fan, dude. Big fan of Sun King. Their pachanga. I will like that. Their Mexican lager is just
it is.
quality. I
It
love
is
it.
nice. Yep. No, it's very good. So
Amen.
that and probably Adidas, because I just want some Adidas shit, man. I just love all
Some
the Adidas.
Adidas. Adidas.
Adidas, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, one brother was a Nazi. One brother said no.
That's true. And one has Puma and one has Adidas. There you go. See, I know that story. I know that story.
Right? I mean, you say, let's make these shoes, and the other goes, you're a Nazi.
You just wanted to do it, dude. You
Absolutely.
just
I'll
wanted
be
to
here
do
all night with the new sound
it.
effects, friends. So Evan, we go back not quite a year ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's vaccines,
Mm.
pre-vaccinations for everybody. This time last year, I think a lot of people were damn near back in what would be considered a lockdown kind of situation. Um, Apparently, California's infections were rampant. Restaurants
Mhm.
were closed. Tourism paused. the city of Pasadena eerily quiet without a parade or football game on New Year's Day, which is, a good opportunity to kind of talk about, how the different sports handled it. I thought, obviously, the NWSL and WNBA kind of kicked off the whole bubble concept. The NBA did okay with it.
Yeah.
And, we've been able to have sports seasons because of it. But, we're seeing it with our beloved EPL. We're seeing it in the NHL, NBA, NFL. I think much like our society, hoping people would be responsible and look after themselves on behalf of the entire community. Unfortunately, it's just not what has happened. We've learned a lot about ourselves in the last couple of years, and about, people who, I think it's truly patriotic to do things for the collective good. And I think there are some distinct gaps there.
Yeah, no, I would agree, man. I think a couple things about that. Yeah, we learned about ourselves. We're not as community centric as we thought. We are not as community focused. Let's put it that way. Community focused as we thought. And it's discouraging. But here's how I know that that you and I and most of our listeners who are incredibly intelligent people will also look at it. They'll look at it as a data point, right? Like you'll look at it and say, okay, well, we're not focused on community, okay, but we can look at this and we can grow from what we know about ourselves now. We can do some things differently. We can try and communicate. And I'm as guilty as the next person. And you've called me out on the show before, and I appreciate that, of just getting on somebody and just saying, get the shot. And it's like, look, that doesn't work. We know that. And the definition of insanity is to continue doing something the same way and expecting different results. You can't do that. The other thing that is interesting about the article that you were talking about when you were reading, isn't it interesting that Indiana and California have swapped?
Yeah.
We're number one in sucking right now as far as COVID is concerned. Indiana leads the way.
Yeah. 46th or something like that.
Yeah. We are helping to lead the way with infections. That's something that is infamous, not famous. And it's something we, quite frankly, says a lot about Indiana, and that Hoosier hospitality. If you're being hospitable to people, then usually that means that you're community focused and community minded. I think we need to take a long, hard look at ourselves as Hoosiers. I call myself a Hoosier now. I've lived here 21 years. And so this is the place where I've lived the most and the longest. We need to take a long, hard look at ourselves and say, okay, are we really about those Hoosier values that we like to tout? Or are we discovering something about ourselves that we must now embrace and we must look to change? I don't know, Aaron. I don't know. I think it's a mirror. A mirror has been held up to our face, especially here in Indiana.
It is. And it's a valuable thing to talk about from the standpoint of, nobody thinks of themselves as the bad guy, as the villain. And I think a lot of people probably think they are still making, a noble decision on their own behalf, on behalf of their own freedom. And I think it's misguided, but I can have a conversation with those people and have a discussion about how, hey, you do all these other things. You're a father, you sacrifice for the benefit of your wife and children, right? You're a coach, you're a teacher, you're a small business person. You make these decisions all the time to maybe take less for yourself because you are a community-minded person. And here's an opportunity for you to, if this was even 10, 15 years ago and we'd have had an outbreak like this, it certainly would have been politicized. But our climate, our political, our socio-political climate is so divisive right now that I don't think it even I just don't think the thought has been given on that level. It's more of the person telling me to do this is somebody I am just diametrically opposed to, and therefore this is the decision I have to make. And you see plenty of people across the spectrum. I shouldn't be surprised, but there's an awful lot of pretty hardcore leftists. We're talking about California. Jordan Klepper on Comedy Central has done plenty of episodes talking to anti-vaxxers, and there's just as many on the left who,
Sure.
hey, just go to your guru and eat your granola and get
Hmm.
some sunshine on your asshole, and all will be fine.
Yeah,
And
that one was
you know
pretty
what?
interesting.
Uh, Maybe a lot of people can get by with that. But the thing that seems to be a constant is the number of people who were just outspoken in their defiance, um, end up right before getting intubated, pleading with their friends and family and other loved ones that they should really get vaccinated and that this is the worst thing ever. And then they're never heard from again. And there's an part of me that is really really sad about the whole thing, and then there's a part of me that I can't lie is indifferent, never going to celebrate, you know, sickness and death. Um, but it's hard for me to be sympathetic over 2 years later. If
Yeah.
you're saying I need to do the research, what more research is there to do?
There's plenty of
So,
research out there, man. And all it is all it takes is for you to stop. And you're right. It takes for a person to stop looking at a singular source.
yeah,
Stop. Yeah, stop looking at Fox News to get medical advice. But guess what? Stop just listening to CNN.
oh,
Go and look at the AMA website. Go
right,
and look at WHO. I know that people are like, oh, WHO is all in this, but those are conspiracy people who you probably aren't going to be able to talk to. But go and diversify where you find your facts from, man.
yeah,
I mean, it's one of the deals that I think makes us as a country. It can make us great, but it also it so hampers us from making sound, solid decisions.
hmm,
In let's see, Io says ain't nobody doing research. Yeah, exactly.
right.
No, we do not do
That's an
research.
excuse now.
Research has already been done. We read the research and then draw our conclusions from it, or at least we should. There are people who are so much smarter than we are doing this research, saying that, hey, look, no, vaccines are not going to 100% protect you from this virus. This virus is going to mutate as long as there's a certain percentage of people who aren't vaccinated. However, these vaccinations are key to limiting the effect of these variants upon the general population. And until we reach 70 to 73, 72 or 73% of us who are vaccinated, we're just going to have variants happen all the time. We're just going to have them happen all the time. And then we're going to have to worry about the repercussions, which here's the thing, Aaron, and this is the fact, and I want to get your opinion on this piece. The thing that I'm most worried about this past year is how we treated COVID and how we have neglected to even start to touch. Now, there have been some people that start to talk about this, but we've neglected to even start to touch and talk about the long lasting effects that these different variants may have. That Delta may affect us differently than Omicron does in the long run. The original strain may have long lasting effects that maybe Omicron doesn't have. We just don't know. But people are literally here in Indiana saying, fuck it, we're done. And and I don't get that. I'm like, guys, look, you would not wander into a lion's cage if someone said, hey, guess what, we super glued his mouth shut, so you're okay, you're fine. I still wouldn't go in there because I'm like, this guy can still maul the shit out of me,
Right.
I'm like, so why are we flirting with COVID in such a way that we're like, oh, okay, we're vaccinated, we're good, screw it.
Well, it says so much about our educational system that people have such a specific notion of what science is, right? There's, the sun revolves around the earth, or I'm sorry, the earth revolves around the sun, which again, it's funny, I made that sort of slip there because at one point in time, we believed that the sun revolved around the earth, that the earth
Yeah.
was the center of the universe. So that right there should remind people that science is not an exact science. Even when it is
Right.
confident, science allows for a minuscule amount of uncertainty because
Mhm.
that's the point. And science telling you, hey, we know this much about this and we don't
Yeah.
know this much, but this is our level of confidence, right? Last article I read was that Omicron is far more transmissible, but not nearly as sickly. But its incubation period is shorter, so it hits quicker and it makes you more communicable.
Mm.
Now, those just get those big words just go right over people's heads because all they hear is what you told me. What you're telling me now doesn't match what you told me last time. But
Yeah.
that's science.
That's a great point.
So, moving on because we're still on January 1st and we're 19 minutes in. Um, I know you wanted to definitely touch on this. January 5th, Raphael, the Right Reverend
Yes, the right
Raphael
reverend.
Warnock and John Ossoff make history by winning their respective Senate races in Georgia's runoff election. Their victories hand control of the Senate to the Democrats and also prompt Republicans nationwide to figure out ways to not let black people vote. Still, though, I think it's a pretty good step. Just the fact that Warnock and Ossoff, being the people they are, um, got elected in Georgia. I think Georgia is a purple state now. I think Georgia's in play. Um,
No. Okay.
and
Okay.
Stacey Abrams running again. Don't get in that woman's way. Look, all y'all that claim all this voter fraud, let's remember you committed voter fraud to make sure she couldn't get elected.
There
Good
you
luck this
go.
time around. So,
Yes. Yes.
and I know you had a couple other names in there. Thoughts?
Hmm. Yeah. Once again, this is a Senate race that is for the ages. I think that Ossoff and Warnock. I honestly remember sitting there saying, I think Warnock. I think he can beat Leffler. I really do. I thought he could beat Leffler because Leffler was getting a lot of pushback from the is it the Atlanta Scott? No, the WNBA team that's in Atlanta that she owns.
Oh, right. Well, I believe she got
Atlanta
forced out.
something.
I think she
Yeah,
got. I think the league
she
was
had to
like, "Yeah,
sell
why
off
don't you
her.
just
Yeah,
go
yeah,
away?"
just get out of here. Kudos once again. WNBA comes up in our discussion as pioneers of social justice. Thank you. I was pretty sure Warnock could beat Leffler.
Mm.
Um, the the
Yeah,
concern to
Ossoff
me,
was a different
David
race.
Perdue.
Yeah.
David Perdue was a horse with a different color there, and I was kind of worried about that. I was like, Ossoff is awesome. He's a really cool dude.
Hmm.
I read a lot about him. Just really level headed. He's not over the top with anything, and and I still didn't think that would be enough.
Right.
Here's what I think happened to Purdue. I think he literally got Abrams. I think Stacey
Mm.
Abrams just destroyed
Yeah.
the Republican ground game in Georgia. I think she and I'll say
She
I'm going to say it
mobilized in a whole way that.
single fucking handedly did
Yeah.
the damage necessary um, to bring it home. And I think both of those guys, quite frankly, yes, I believe that they partially won off of their charisma. I think they partially won, off of their platform. But I think both of those guys owe a great debt of gratitude to Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah, thank you for letting me talk about that. That was
Yeah.
that was
Absolutely.
a that was a cliffhanger that night. Holy
Right.
cow!
Right. Absolutely. And I think with a lot of the voting rights or removal of rights, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to motivate and mobilize Democrats, get that ground game going. Hopefully,
Okay.
because that's what needs to happen. It's because in sheer numbers they can't win. We definitely have the numbers on our side. It's just a matter of getting people out and getting people excited, and that's where I'd have to say Biden has done an okay job. I'm not
Mhm.
sure. Somebody needs to call Kamala's number. We need to get her in the game. Um,
Yes, absolutely.
Moving
Absolutely.
on January 6th, there was a very eventful mass tourist escapade at the U.S. Capitol. And the fallout from that has been pretty great. I think we've covered that in a lot of detail. I mean, hopefully we're going to see more and more convictions, more and more jail time.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
glad that, that the last guy was like, they showed him the footage of him. He had the fire extinguisher and he was shoving cops, and he broke down in legit tears, not Kyle Rittenhouse tears, not the woman who shot Dante Wright, and she couldn't even muster tears. That was pretty terrible. This guy legit, and I'm not going to excuse it in any way. These people deserve to be punished for what
Yes.
they've done, but
Yep.
I do think there were an awful lot of people that day that probably did not go planning to storm the castle and ended up
Mm-hmm.
inside, and do truly regret it.
Yeah.
Those are the people that we have got to reach out to and say, look, I'm not going to condemn you forever, but you got to recognize the error of your ways. And it was believing somebody that deep down was lying to you. I'm not asking you to vote Democrat. I'm asking you to not vote against the interests of this country.
Exactly. Here's what I would say to that, Aaron. I'm like, there's a lot of young black men sitting in jail who listened to somebody that they probably didn't intend on, following out their orders, but did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes back to your statement earlier, and I feel this way toward people. I listened to MSNBC's podcast, which was excellent, called American Radical.
Mm.
And it while it is gut wrenching to hear from the once again I forget her name, but the young lady who was trampled to death after um, having drugs in her system. It's gut wrenching,
Adderall's a hell of a
but
drug.
but once again, we are making podcasts about people who were led astray by someone who was promising them that they had been cheated.
Right.
When this very same scenario happens to young men of color, particularly African American men, every single day. And and I'm not saying you by any means, because I know where your heart and mind is, but there's so many people that are like, oh my God, these people, they don't deserve to go to no, yes, they do. They deserve to go to jail, because if John, who was with Kevin, when Kevin was driving, pulling up to someone, John's driving and Kevin's pulling up and sees someone of a rival gang member or a rival gang shoot somebody, guess who gets in trouble too?
Right.
John.
Yeah.
So John's sitting in jail.
I've seen Menace to Society.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. See, and so it's hard for me. It's hard for me to feel, remorse. I guess remorse, empathy. There it is. It's hard for me to empathize with these folks, and that's something that's me. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. It would be interesting to hear what you had to say about that. Troy, on here. Yeah.
There's a Venn diagram. There's parsing out, or I guess a pie chart would be better. I always said, don't know what percentage are the good cops, bad cops, the indifferent cops.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look, when kids in the inner city are faced with few options, many of them turn to gang life. That doesn't mean they can't be reformed. That doesn't mean they can't be shown that this isn't the way to go. They felt they didn't have options. There's a lot of young kids throughout Europe and the Middle East that feel like they have no options, that their cities have been bombed out. They turn to terrorist groups. It's not that much different. And I believe there's a certain segment of white America, impoverished white America, that feels that way, that feels abandoned, feels like, hey, I've done my civic duty. I've worked hard. I've paid my taxes. And they feel like the system has betrayed them. And they have turned to a certain level of anarchy. These are not all these people cannot be, they're not all without the ability to be reformed. Maybe some can, maybe some can't. But when you see genuine, just somebody who's really disgusted by their own behavior, that's somebody that you can reach out to. That's somebody who could have been knee deep in white supremacy, and then they take a step back from it. Somebody shows them gives them that olive branch. That's how we take our country back. We can't go
And
scorched earth.
and one last thing to add: January 11th, the douchebag Alabama Crimson Tide beats the Ohio State Buckeyes for the national championship.
Roll Tide. January 8th,
My
Twitter
God,
suspended
stop it.
Donald Trump's Twitter account.
Go back to the 8th. Yes,
Do you think maybe if they'd have suspended his account on maybe January 1st, we could have avoided the whole January 6th thing? January 13th, Donald Trump becomes the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice, and basically had no impact whatsoever. Don't really care about
197.
January 20th,
Whoa.
Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. inaugurated as the 46th president of the United States, bringing to an end probably the worst presidency in American history, and ushered in Kamala Harris as vice president, the first woman and black person and Asian American, right? She's part Indian, isn't that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Alex Padilla, first Latino to represent California in the U.S. Senate.
Dude, I hate to break in. I got. I'm the timekeeper. I got to do it. It is literally halftime, and we're only like at the end of January.
Yeah, we're January 20th, but we're gonna run through the rest of this because those are just deaths, unfortunately.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are at halftime of our podcast.
Could be a long show, folks.
Yeah,
Hang in there.
My halftime shot is to being done with the semester.
Oh, outstanding.
Yes, I actually like get a chance to recoup from pouring, CRT and Marxist beliefs into young people's minds. There you go.
Do you feel like you are potentially a target of being? I mean, what are the classes you teach?
Oh boy,
what are the names of the classes you teach? And do you feel like somebody could misinterpret what it is you do and accuse you of CRT?
That is a great question.
To those people, I say, bring it the fuck on, by the way.
Yeah, right. No, I teach a freshman level history course. I teach a course called Intro to Social Justice. I teach.
Okay, well, you're done. You're done. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. Each and every one of my classes this year, brother, out of a 5, I have a 4.5 or better rating from all my students.
Well, I mean, if I could, I'd give you 10 stars.
I got an A-, man. I'll take that.
So how's the master's program going as well?
The master's program was it went really well back in 2018. And I started my
your doctorate. My fault. You knew what I meant.
Dude, I know, but I had to do it. No. I'm halfway through, brother. No, I know. Yep, there you go. It's that academia arrogance. That's what it is.
I will kind of piggyback on your whole, that classes are done, and say, there's almost nothing better than being a contractor at another company this time of year, because everybody else has gone on vacation. So I'm working, but everybody's gone. So not a lot to be done, pushing paper. So to all of you, hopefully you're all done. Maybe you're done tomorrow. Certainly hope you don't have to do anything on Friday. Enjoy the day. I'll be making small appetizers all day long.
That's what I'll be doing tomorrow, but I'll be baking cookies.
Excellent. Well, and I will let me add this. I might go into more detail later, but just want to say tomorrow would be my mom's birthday, my parents' anniversary, and also my grandfather's birthday. My grandfather and his daughter were born on the same day, and then my parents decided to get married on that day. So tomorrow's gonna maybe not be the greatest, but I love her, I miss her, and I love my parents and I love my grandfather. So to you, to mom, to everybody, sláinte.
Sláinte.
Okay.
Oh, hey, I wanted to show you something real quick before we get started. Hang on. Merry Christmas from Brother Claus.
Oh, nice.
Brother Claus, man.
There needs to be a movie called Black Santa.
Aaron, have you been down with the calls this year?
I've been down with the cause, Mr. Claus.
That's good, bro.
I love this microphone. I can now get in on the joke.
I'm gonna bring you some Hennessy.
I'm going to start another show called The Quiet Storm.
Or start a show called Black Santa. And
Black
look,
Santa.
I love the like New Orleans.
Yes,
like,
yes,
the
Evan. I'll host
and,
a show called Black Santa.
yeah, well, leave it to a white guy to host a show.
Right. How else is going to get on the air? Let's see. January 22nd, my namesake, Hank Aaron, passed away at 86. Talk show legend Larry King died at 87. A few days later, President Biden ends former President Trump's ban on transgender individuals serving in the military. And January 28th, actor Cicely Tyson, who insisted that roles for Black women reflect a sense of power and grace, dies at 96. And I would say she did a damn good job. February, Black History Month starts off. Senate confirms Pete Buttigieg as Transportation Secretary, first openly gay person to serve in a cabinet post. February 2nd, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos announces that he will step down later in the year as the company's chief executive, role he's had for nearly 30 years, so he can become an astronaut. Christopher Plummer passed away. Super Bowl.
Okay, I want to stop you there. Nope, got to stop you there. Christopher Plummer was literally a national treasure. I don't care what anybody says. Christopher Plummer was just that hurt. That cut deep. That cut almost as deep as Cicely Tyson did.
He was the captain.
Almost.
He's alive.
Oh my gosh, when he sings that, bro, like I gotta cry a little bit. But anyway, go ahead.
Tom Brady led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers past quarterback Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to secure his unprecedented 7th championship ring. I am not a fan, but the man is the.
Oh, there's a discussion we have to have.
I look, man. I mean,
no,
stats, rings. I wish I could say different. And if I was captain and picking teams, I'd probably pick Peyton. But yeah, look, dude's got enough rings to start his own jewelry store. Let's see. Senator quits President Trump because we saw that coming. The World Health Organization grants an emergency authorization for AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. I forgot that was the first, and now we don't even talk about it because here it's all Pfizer. It's Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. And there's a great joke the other night about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in the Black community. I thought that was pretty funny, and I'm not going to try to repeat it.
Okay.
Below freezing weather hits Texas and Oregon, leading to blackouts, road closures, and other disruptions to everyday life. And Ted Cruz heads to Cancun.
Yep.
Incendiary radio talk show host Rush Limbaugh dies 15 days after his last broadcast. He was 70.
Do you have ding dong the bitches?
Again, I don't celebrate any death, but
no,
I read the obituary with enthusiasm.
I'm that cold, bro. I got you. Anyway, go ahead.
U.S. death toll from COVID-19 passes 500,000, higher than the deaths in World War I, II, and Vietnam War combined. So, never forget. By the way, we've recently passed 800,000. Good on us. Tiger Woods, who recently played a golf tournament with his son the other day, was lucky to be alive after he lost control of his SUV.
When was that?
February 23rd.
We are only in February, dude.
Dude, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. FDA authorizes the distribution of its third COVID-19 vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson one shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? The Johnson & Johnson one shot. I've seen that movie. Chadwick Boseman posthumously awarded a Golden Globe for his role as the horn player Levy in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Still on my watch list. I haven't watched that yet.
Oh my God, dude. It's really good.
I've heard.
It's good. Yep.
Let's see. March 11th, President Biden signs a sweeping $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package into law. On this date, a year earlier, the WHO declared the outbreak a pandemic. So it only took changing presidents to, acknowledge that. Bay becomes the woman with the most Grammys of all time when she earns her 28th. The Bay Hive goes nuts. Um,
All the
let's
single ladies.
see. Former New Mexico Congresswoman Deb Haaland becomes the first Native American confirmed. Um, can't do that to me.
I,
Um,
I just want to say, isn't it interesting? Like all of the milestones that are reached when Biden came into office, like
right.
it's really good. It's really, I'm just pointing it out. It's really good. It's a good thing.
No. March 23rd, a massive cargo ship runs aground in the Suez Canal, blocking the vital waterway and disrupting shipping worldwide. And the global shipping has not been the same since.
No, it hasn't.
6 days later, the container ship that had plugged the Suez Canal is dragged off the channel's banks and refloated, allowing ships to once again traverse the 120-mile waterway. Maybe we could widen it. Just saying. And March 30th, my mother passed.
You can widen it. Hey, get Buttigieg on that. Let's
Right.
go. Come on now.
I'm not even gonna go there. April 11th, Dante Wright, 20 years
Yep.
old, is shot and killed during a traffic stop by Brooklyn Center, Minnesota police officer Kim Potter, who says she mistook her gun for a taser, and I mistook her tears for a rain shower. U.S. officials disclosed President Biden's plan to withdraw all remaining troops from Afghanistan by September 11th. I wouldn't have picked that date. Half of all adults in the U.S. have received at least one COVID-19 shot by April 19th. April 20th, former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is convicted of murdering George Floyd, and people light up gigantic blunts nationwide to celebrate it.
Okay, just skip over that because I've got something about that in the hair.
Sure.
Okay.
Republican-led drive to remove California Governor Gavin Newsom from office collects enough voter signatures to qualify for the ballot. Spoiler alert, didn't work.
Didn't work.
Let's see, COVID-19 vaccines, and we're now in May. Expand the use to give shots to those as young as 12. Phil Mickelson becomes the oldest player to win a major golf championship. It's a hobby, not a sport. May 26th, in California's largest mass shooting this year, a gunman opens fire at a San Jose light rail yard, killing 9 people and dying of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. I'm glad we got COVID over just in time to be able to start mass shootings again. Tennis star Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open, citing a need to protect her mental health, which kicked off,
Good on you,
which
Naomi.
kicked off a kind of several months of athletes being a lot more open about the need to discuss their mental health. And, I know there's a certain segment of people who are like, blah, 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 blah. But I tell you what, those people speaking out about it makes it a lot easier for the layperson to realize that looking after your mental health is important. I think I mentioned this a while back. I started going to therapy myself in the latter part of this year, and couldn't be more beneficial. You jump right in, man.
Yeah, man. No, seriously. I go to therapy every 3 weeks and I love it. But think about what Naomi Osaka, what, Simone Biles, think about what they've done for athletes now in the future.
Absolutely.
They've made space for athletes in the future to say, look, this is real. We are real human beings as well. And there may be times where we need mental health days, and it's okay. It's all right.
Kevin Love has spoken out on it. A lot of players.
Absolutely. And for those people who want to say, well, they get paid to entertain us, I'm like, you know what? Shut the fuck up, and recognize the fact that these people are human beings. If someone offered you $17 million a year to play a sport that you were really good at, are you meaning to tell me that
ravages your body?
Yeah, that ravages your body. Do you mean to tell me that you'd be like, I'd be in every single game? It's like, man, come on, bro. Come on.
You know what you'd hear, Evan? You know what you'd hear?
Crickets. Absolutely, man.
That's right, folks. Aaron's got a new toy. So back to, we are now late spring. Hundreds gather in Tulsa, Oklahoma for an interfaith service to mark the centennial of the first day of one of the deadliest racist massacres in the nation. People, if you haven't, we've talked about it plenty, so you should be up on the whole Tulsa thing by now. But I highly recommend watching the television series The Watchmen. Does a great job of sort of bringing it to life in a quasi-fictional setting. It's really, really well done. I was hoping for a second season. I'm not sure if they can really pull that off, but just
I am.
also
Yeah.
Tulsa is, I hate to say it, a jumping off point to learn about your history. It's probably the most well known, and it wasn't taught in most people's history class, but folks, uh, uh, what Redwood, Rosewood in Florida.
Rosewood. Rosewood.
Unfortunately, there's like 20, 29,
There's
30
several.
more
Several.
of these that are just
Yeah.
horrific. So this notion of, you know, once the war was over, everything was fine is just
No.
not the case. Um,
Let alone talk about what reconstruction and how the first 7, 8, 9 years were awesome,
mhm.
but after that, it actually got to a point to where it probably was worse for Black people. By the way, if you ever go out and visit, go out to visit Tulsa, guy that I grew up with, Phil Armstrong, is actually the interim director of the Greenwood Rising Black Wall Street History Center. He's awesome. I actually had Phil and brought him in for an interview in the African American history class, and he was incredible. So shout out to Phil. Great work you guys did. He was also the project director for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, the Centennial Commission. So great work there. Phil, you guys are just throwing it down. You are making sure that real history is being taught. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
um, well, that's great because my page has gone away. So
Oh,
um,
well, there you
we
go.
we
Well,
we made it to May.
hey, you know
Well, we
what?
made it to June. We made it to the end of May. Um, and
Then
uh, and
yeah,
for the record, end of May had a stroke. Folks, check your blood pressure, take your
man,
medications, see your doctor, and know the signs. Know the signs. Ask somebody to say their name, stick out their tongue, raise their left hand, all sorts of shit. It's online. Do your research.
yeah.
It could save a life. I'm pretty sure my wife saved mine. Um,
Mm,
so just know, just be aware.
this is to
It's
Mrs. Aaron. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I owe it to my wife. I owe it to the great staff at Ascension St. V up here.
Yeah,
But we can all help each other out. Doctors believe that if they can get to somebody, within 60 minutes, they can pretty much fully reverse, yeah, even a real stroke.
yeah,
Well, let me take that back. Um, there's not that big of a distinction between a TIA and what you would call a stroke. There is a distinction, but the reality is if you're having a TIA or a stroke, you don't know the difference until they make the diagnosis. The
right.
symptoms are pretty much the same. Just go to the hospital.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And the only reason why I said, Mrs. Aaron is not because the patriarchy is alive, but because we don't say the names of our significant others on the show, right? Or do we? I don't
well,
know.
I'm sure we have failed in that miserably at some point, but
Have we?
I'm
I didn't
sure.
think I said your SO's name. I don't know.
I'm sure I've said it at some point.
I don't know. Who knows? It's all IO. I mean, IO knows. Anyway,
We say Io's
um,
name.
yeah, we say IO's name. There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, because Aaron's page is gone, I get the wonderful opportunity to jump in and say, "Hey, Aaron, we're going to take it the rest of the way. What we're going to do tonight for the Hey Aaron segment is I'm just going to go through my little list here, starting from January all the way to December, maybe, and I'm going to read off a name or a sentence, and Aaron is going to riff. He's just going to riff on it, whatever he thinks. And when he stops, I'll read the next name. Yes. Cheer, cheer, near and far, all over the land for the Hey Aaron segment. And ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
Not somebody I want to hang out with, but I think he is nothing short of a hero. The guy's name's going to end up in a history book. 100 years from now, he's going to be talked about as maybe, we didn't know it at the time, but the last line of defense that kept our democracy alive.
Representative Paul Gosar.
Um, Someone who actively tried to destroy the fabric of our democracy and probably still is, and probably deserves to, at a minimum, not be allowed to hold the position he does, and taken to its extremes, should perhaps be in prison or strung up for treason.
Elon Musk.
Douchebag. Very, very smart, very, very motivated, very, very out of touch, douchey human being.
Well, dang, that was quick. Okay, hang on. Sidney Powell.
Again, a huckster, somebody who spread lies for what they believed would be personal gain in pursuit of authoritarianism in America. That absolutely deserves to be prosecuted for their crimes.
United States Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman.
A true American hero.
I'm laughing to even say it. Frank Lampard.
Um, the timing, and probably why you're mentioning the game, I think unfortunate. Um, I liken him to Ole. I in an alternate universe, Frank Lampard and Ole get 6 more months to implement their plans and don't have the pressures, the undue pressures of this game that is more business than game nowadays. Um, but I think Frank will be back and better than ever the next time he finds a team. Also, I highly
And
recommend watching the overlap episode Gary Neville has with Frank Lampard. It's fantastic.
okay, and that leads me to Oli Gunnar, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name.
Solskjaer.
Solskjaer.
Um, you know, again, victim of the modern game, the business side of the modern game. I think um, Ole was having his plan implemented. I think he got what he wanted. I think, ironically enough, the arguably one of the top players in the world coming to Manchester United was a wrench in the works. Um, it's almost like the Ewing theory. I think Ole's team would have been better without Cristiano. But you also
Mm.
don't say no to Cristiano. It's a total, it's a that's a that's a graduate level question right there.
Yeah,
Do you always take the great player? If you're one or two pieces away from the puzzle and he's not the puzzle piece, then no, you don't. But you do. I mean, it's a business. Ronaldo sells jerseys.
Tucker Carlson.
Not worth my time.
Derek Chauvin.
Um,
Actually, let me rewind that. Forget him. George Floyd.
um, a vastly misunderstood human being that I think is very easy to paint in a certain light for a certain group of people and very easy to hold up um, as a martyr for another group of people. And I think he would say he was neither of those things. He had a complicated life, some good, some bad, which I think all of us have either had that or know somebody who had that. So I think if you knew the man, um, you felt one way about it, or had empathy. And if you didn't, I think it was very easy to portray him a certain way. And they're not the same people, but I think in a way, Kyle Rittenhouse embodies a certain amount of that right now,
Mm.
because um, smart Republicans are saying, let's not hold this guy up as a rock star. That this is
Yeah.
not something to celebrate. And when he has been candid in interviews, he has said the same. This is not something to celebrate. I should not be held up as a celebrity. In the moment, I did what I thought was right, and we can have a discussion about that. We can have a discussion about whether or not George Floyd should have simply put his hands behind his back and gotten into a police van.
Mm.
There's a lot of nuance to this shit. Um,
Mm.
and I think all too often we don't afford ourselves the opportunity to take a couple steps back and see the bigger picture.
So here's a phrase. May 1st, Lubbock, Texas votes to become the largest city in the U.S. to ban abortion with the quote sanctuary city for the unborn unquote.
Well, I'm guessing Lubbock, Texas didn't have a high abortion rate to begin with, just spitballing. So I think it was largely symbolic. The way a lot of these things are. It's makes you wonder at times what the obsession with abortion is, um, especially when the same people tend to be for the death penalty, don't support um, child welfare programs, don't support single mother programs, job programs, things like that. So
Mm.
it's hard to take those people at face value, saying it's all about the sanctity of life when they care for what at that point in time is a collection of cells that are not yet a human being. Um, and the second that child is born, want nothing to do with it.
Working remotely.
I was working remote before, the whole thing kicked in. So I think it has shown us an awful lot about how the American workplace was failing the day-to-day worker. I
Mm.
think we've learned an awful lot about which meetings could have absolutely been emails. But I think there's also something to be said for human contact and human interaction and what the office space does bring to certain people. I do miss it. I'm glad I don't want to be there 5 days a week, I don't think, but I do miss having a place to go to and popping over to somebody's desk and having a chat. And you can't cultivate relationships via Zoom and Teams and Skype the same way you can by saying, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee and talk about something. So, pros and cons. I think ultimately it has changed the American workplace for the better. And there's a lot left to learn.
Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson and Johnson.
uh, Quite frankly, just phenomenal. There's a lot of criticism to come Big Pharma's way, and they earn it. You watch a movie like Dope Sick and see how the Sacklers and Purdue Pharma really manipulated the system and lied and did bad things. But you know, there's a reason we don't know anybody with polio. There's a reason why you know certain diseases just aren't around anymore, and this is a net good. Is it possible that 10, 15 years from now there's side effects that we don't know about? Possibly, but I think the near term outweighs that right now. And like I said earlier, good science will correct itself.
Los Angeles, oh, sorry, Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib.
I have to refresh my memory on this one.
Here we go. Let me read it. Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib becomes the first National Football League player to come out as openly gay.
So we're just ignoring the Sam kid from a couple years ago because he got cut before he made the roster.
I don't.
I do remember that now. You know what? Here's what I like about my failure to remember that is that this is becoming less of a thing. That whether or not a professional athlete, what they're doing behind closed doors, as long as it's not harming anybody. I mean, if you're more concerned about Nassib having a male partner than you are about the number of guys in the NFL that beat their wives and girlfriends, then we need to have a whole other discussion in this country.
Mm-hmm. Cleveland's Major League Baseball team announces they will change their name from the Indians to the Guardians, resolving a decades-long controversy.
Yeah, long overdue, and kudos to them for finally making the decision. And once I read up on what the term means, I actually think it's pretty cool. I talk about a great logo and a mascot, like gigantic, like centurions of the city kind of things. Man, that's pretty cool, actually. Really? I think it's cool.
Yeah, no, I'm a I'm a Cleveland sports
And
fan, and
I
I'm
actually
for it.
think if they were smart, Washington would just leave themselves as the Washington football team. There's nothing cooler than sounding like
I
we're the
love it.
football team.
Yes,
You're still
yes,
owned by the worst human being on the planet, but
yep. I would say the Washington Old Ball Club.
yeah.
We're the Old Ball Club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Andrew Cuomo.
Um, for a minute, a leader, but I also remember being on Twitter and can't remember who the guy was, but he's like, look, been telling you guys for a long time. This is not somebody to hang your hat on, and ultimately has been outed as just, look, Andrew Cuomo is just a Democrat Donald Trump.
Mm. Mm.
They're they're
Ooh.
arrogant New Yorkers who believe they're above the law, who believe they're above the Americans, the average American, and that because they do it, it's okay. And um, he needs to give back $5 million.
There you go. Few more. QAnon shaman.
A really, really, really messed up kid that deserves to be punished. And hopefully, while he's inside, you know, somebody can pull him aside and say, "Look, there's a better path." There's plenty of movies that show you the reform that can take place. And if he's truly upset about what he's done and wants to make it right, then he's the kind of guy that'll get out, like former, white supremacists and nationalists and stuff. And I'm going to, do public speaking and say, this was the wrong way to go about this. This is not how to pursue change in America. So do your time and hopefully gets out and is rehabilitated.
September 8th, the Robert E. Lee Monument on Monument Avenue in Richmond, Virginia. A statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee is removed.
Good riddance. Put it in a museum. That's where you go to look at bad history. I understand people were like, "Oh, it's history. Don't tear it down." No, 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 no. We move it somewhere else. We don't need to leave it out for everybody. 10-year-old girls, 10-year-old Black girls don't need to walk by that and have to reckon with the weight of that history. Go to a museum, see a plaque next to it. But that statue wasn't placed there after the war. It was placed there probably in the 20s when they were trying to intimidate people. Had nothing to do with heritage, had nothing to do about history, and everything to do with fear and shame and humiliation. So good riddance. And I'm anxious to see what's in the time capsule. But if it's at the same quality as the sculptures themselves, it's probably some shitty cotton candy and a torn up Confederate flag.
John Gruden.
Bye. What bye? Actually, I will never find out the absolute truth, but there's no hiding it. The NFL is the worst of the worst of the boys club. And
Mm.
if that's what's been released, imagine what was really said.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Just truly the saddest of American stories right now. That, I mean, we might not even be having this conversation. And it got swept under the rug. It took months for it to even come to light. So it's some sense of justice, but doesn't change the fact that dude was just out for a jog and three fucking rednecks decided that they wanted to mess with somebody. They took it upon themselves. You know what? You want to be a cop? You want to make a citizen's arrest? Go join the fucking academy, fat ass. You get free donuts, I'm pretty sure.
Two things on November 19th. Vice President Harris serves as acting president from 10:10 a.m. to 11:35 a.m. while President Biden undergoes a colonoscopy.
Cool. Cool from the standpoint of, it's history. Um, Look, we got cheated out of the first female president. Um, I'm glad for Kamala. She's got some work to do if she wants to actually hold the title.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse.
The way the laws are written, ultimately, probably the correct judgment. History is going to look back on it. Hopefully, Wisconsin gets itself right. And, watch this space. What happens to Kyle Rittenhouse over the next 3 to 5 years? Does he want to go into politics? Does he use this platform to say, he's on record saying, look, I don't hate Black Lives Matter. That's not what I was there. Well, from now on, man, much like George Zimmerman, everything you do from this point forward is now under microscope. And George Zimmerman failed that test, continues to fail that test. Kyle Rittenhouse may not be a bad kid. I don't know him. He made some bad decisions and his mom enabled them. But again, there may be a chance for him to change his path. And hopefully he does.
Last one. Omicron.
My favorite of the Decepticons. Again, science will continue to let us know. And I, for one, have, I've got the Pfizer, I've got the booster, I've had COVID, I've got some good antibodies. I got the flu shot for the first time in exactly 20 years.
Well done.
Look, all we can do is hopefully trust the science. And if you don't trust the science, then I want to know what you are trusting. And I'd like you to draw the pros and cons little diagram, do a Kanban or something, and let that play out. Because I'm gonna take my chances with the guys with PhDs, not the people trying to make a buck on Fox News.
And one bonus for the final round, the caribou, what I call the caribou, but it's actually pronounced Carabao, I think.
Carabao.
Carabao Cup.
Bow, bow,
bow. Arsenal versus Liverpool and Chelsea versus Tottenham.
So Liverpool came back and beat Leicester. That was the one I didn't know about today. Okay.
Yes.
What was the final there?
You caught me off guard. Hang on just a second.
Oh, I love dead air.
I know.
Tottenham 2-1 over West Ham. Chelsea 2-0 over Brentford.
It was penalty kicks.
Oh, went to P.
5-4.
Wow.
5-4. Leicester, man. Jamie Vardy.
So Chelsea left it late. Okay.
Yeah. So Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. Thoughts?
That's a ball being kicked, by the
way. Nice.
Yeah. Thoughts. You said, say it one more time.
So Tottenham, Chelsea,
Arsenal, Liverpool. So we were getting a North London derby no matter what. That's fantastic. So, I mean, if I'm riffing, I'm going to say Chelsea and Arsenal.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I was so happy you said it because here's the deal. And IO, if you're still on here, love to hear from you. I'm not sure anybody wants to play Arsenal right now. I mean, they are playing lights out. I don't know what got into them. They're just playing lights out, man. How do you explain that?
Well, it's planned.
Did Arteta did he work his magic finally?
Well, hold on. Let's keep things in their proper context. One, yes, I think Arteta has finally begun to be able to get certain players to gel. They still have some deficiencies, and I'm not really sure we'd hold up a lot of their opponents as, yeah, they thumped Sunderland. Sunderland's a League One club.
Sure.
again, the League Cup gets used by the major clubs as an opportunity to either bring senior players back to health or get some young guys some opportunities. It's a squad rotation kind of thing. You look at all of the games today, and it was basically hybrid squads. Really, really mix and match kind of stuff out there. No, nobody put their first 11 out there. Even Brentford didn't show up with their first 11.
Right.
That said, it's a trophy. It's a trophy to be won, and I think Liverpool is going to prioritize something else, and I think Arsenal has an opportunity to beat them. And I'm with you. Arsenal do look dangerous. Everybody right now has an Achilles heel. Chelsea can't put the ball in the back of the net.
Well, and also injuries and COVID.
Oh, no. I'm
score.
We had the question lingering from the other day, how much is this on Tuchel? And I got to say, I don't think a whole lot. It's not Tuchel's fault that COVID has surged. It's not Tuchel's fault that when players have been on the field, they've just not put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, the best opportunity the other day was Christian Pulisic kind of breaking through the middle. Everything about that play was right. Goalie makes a nice save. That's not a failure of Christian Pulisic. That's not a failure of anything else. It's the other opportunities that were created that weren't taken advantage of. And you're leaky at the back.
When Timo Werner is, for the last couple of weeks, the leading scorer on your team, that
Timo Werner is the leading scorer at Chelsea since he came to the club, though.
But you know what I'm saying, though.
I do. I mean, you would be better served with Romelu Lukaku and all your players being healthy. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Anyway. Okay. So Arsenal, Chelsea, who comes out? Who comes on top?
Chelsea will win. Chelsea will win that. Yeah.
Bad wording there.
No. I think here's the thing. Each club's going to have to make decisions, and this semifinal doesn't get played for another 6 weeks, I think. So game could be really, really different between now and then. The players that are available, how bad does COVID surge? What's important to each squad, right? I mean, it is a trophy up for grabs, but if Chelsea and Arsenal are both in a top 4 scrap, and that game comes in the middle of stuff, you're going to play Ross Barkley. You're going to play Gabriel Martinelli. You're not going to put out the first 11, and you're going to hope that you've got enough. And at the end of it, say, hey, we made a semifinal or a final with this team. So,
Yep. No, that makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That was the Hey Aaron segment. And now we are at the end of our show. And Aaron, this is it for this year. Here's what I'm going to do. If you want to talk about what's coming up, that's fine. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the second best part of the show. This is the Aaron sends us home, Aaron's final word segment of the show. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. As always, Aaron, what you got for us, homie?
It has been a pleasure. It's been, honestly, just you think about it, make a bulleted list. This has been the craziest year of my entire life. Ups, downs, twists, turns. And I'd like to think that I got through it because of you and everybody else out there listening. And just the collective, us all looking after each other, being a family, being a community. And it shows that we can get through anything. It's been all over the place. But here we are, and it's an opportunity to start fresh. And much like that, the direction of the show, I'm excited to say, is gonna be us having these chats, but it's going to definitely be more soccer focused. We're gonna take a little bit of a break and come back, and it's going to be more of a traditional podcast. We will film, but it's going to be more of a traditional podcast, going to have a lot more guests on, definitely going to be focused on the Manchester United and the Chelsea, but also the Indy 11, IU soccer, club sports locally. Indy 11 has a new women's team. that would be competing.
Yeah, they signed
Excited
their
to know.
first three this week, didn't they?
Yes, and they're all local academy players.
Yep.
I have played with their new head coach, so hopefully we can maybe finagle him on sometime.
Nice.
And we'll just be covering soccer from a. We'll be looking at the global game, but it'll be a local perspective. I've been a Man U fan since I got out of college. Come by it honestly. Evans, a Chelsea boy. So we're going to rep those clubs. But I tell you what, if the big game of the weekend is Arsenal Liverpool, we'll be talking about that. We'll have some guests on to have some good banner, talk about who'd get into whose squad, talk about who's a better manager. Really excited for it. And we hope you'll come along for the journey. It's going to be out there. It's going to be on all the platforms. So yet again, Anchor, Spotify, YouTube.
Do you think we can get Jose Mourinho?
You know what? I don't think we've got the budget for Jose. But I'm pretty sure if we made a fake trophy and started a dumpster fire, he'd show up because that's what he does. In the meantime, folks, it's been just great to interact with you all this year. Really, really hope that your loved ones, your family, your close personal friends are doing good. Give them a hug if you can get together. Hopefully you're all vaccinated. Wear your masks. Enjoy your eggnog. Just enjoy your family, your community. Make the best of it. And trust me, we will make it very clear when we're back and how you can get a hold of us. And just love you guys. Absolutely love you guys. So Merry Christmas.
Black people vote. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Black people vote. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. See you all in the new one.